Hey, what's up, everyone? This is David Greenspan, and you are listening to Season 3 of the Mindshare Podcast, a proud member of the Industry Syndicate Media Network. Additional podcasts are available at mindshare101.com and on all the major podcast platforms. This week's episode is sponsored by Equity Prime Mortgage, Kit's Keep in Touch Systems, and the Buzz Conference. Equity Prime Mortgage, also known as EPM, is a great mortgage lender based out of Atlanta, Georgia, where their mission is simply empowering people more. And in fact, we at Mindshare 101 have just signed an exclusive partnership with EPM to offer Mindshare X on behalf of their group for the real estate industry across the United States of America. And my good friend Jason Frazier is at the helm, helping the entire EPM crew build a whole lot of Mindshare. So make sure you follow them on Instagram at EPM Plus. The Buzz Conference is also with us today. Make sure you connect with them by visiting their website, www.thebuzzconference.com, and by following them on Instagram at The Buzz Conference to keep tabs on all of their awesome events. And of course, Kits is always with us. Kits offers a fully loaded cross-channel marketing suite for the real estate industry, including tools such as Loop CRM, newsletters, websites, social media content, landing pages, action plans, and so much more to help you manage your business, generate more leads, and drive more referrals. And of course, build that mindshare to get even more sales. You can learn more on my site, mindshare101.com, by clicking on marketing. And as you know, we are on a push to 100 reviews on iTunes. And so I would like to ask you, if you haven't yet, please take 2 minutes to go to iTunes, rate the show, leave a review. It really is that easy. And let me say thank you in advance. Today's episode is number 150. She has a Bachelor of Commerce degree from McGill University in Management Policy and Finance. Watching her mother use equity to buy bigger and better houses has inspired her pursuits to become a successful real estate investor and realtor. She owns 4 investment properties in Toronto and Prince Edward County. She's in the top 5% of realtors at Bosley Real Estate. She sits on the board of directors of the charity called Beautiful World Canada, and she is the president of the licensed short-term accommodators of Prince Edward County. She is regularly interviewed on BNN Bloomberg, CTV News Channel, The Globe and Mail, Canadian Real Estate Wealth Magazine, and has appeared on Holmes And Holmes on HGTV and DIY Networks. And she has also co-authored the best-selling book titled Success Today with best-selling author and speaker Brian Tracy. This week on the show, I am joined by investor, realtor, and author Davelle Morrison. Davelle, welcome to the Mindshare Podcast.
Great. Thanks so much for having me, David. I'm so excited to be here.
I was excited when I reached out and you said, yeah, let's do this. It's, we've bumped into each other at different shows and different conferences. And, the world being as it is these days, it's not as easy to get together in person with each other. But, it's certainly always great to see each other, whatever capacity it's in. So I'm excited that you're here with us today.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us more. Just for those who don't know.
Yeah.
Who is Davelle Morrison? What are you up to during your day-to-day? How long have you been in the game of real estate? Let us in a little bit.
Sure. So, I would say I've been a realtor for about 9 years now. And what led me to becoming a realtor was in my previous job, they were always letting go of salespeople. I was in a media sales rep. And every other year, they were always letting go more and more sales reps. And I was like, one day it's going to be me. I better figure out what I'm going to do next with my life. And during that time, I had become a real estate investor. I've been buying properties. I've been renting them out. And so it is something that was becoming a part of my life and I guess my side hustle. Back before anybody even used that kind of verbiage. Yeah. And, I had always resisted becoming an agent because I really didn't like the idea of working in the evenings or on the weekends. And fitness happens to be another sort of real interest of mine. And I had tried pursuing some fitness goals as a side hustle. And I realized I was so passionate about pursuing that I was just automatically doing it in the evenings and the weekends. I didn't care. And so I thought to myself, I keep resisting this real estate thing, but you know what? It keeps following me around everywhere I go. And I watch a lot of HGTV. So I decided to go get my real estate license. And then probably 8 months later, my boss said, oh, we've had to make some difficult decisions. We've had to let you go. And I was like, okay, now the Band-Aid's been ripped off. I'm going to start launching my real estate career. So that's basically what got me into the business. And, it takes a while to ramp up. I mean, it was probably 10 months before I even had my first sale, once I legitimately started working in real estate. And, when you see a lot of people who want to become real estate agents, and I'm like, I know that you think that this is sexy and it's really easy to make money, but I don't think you understand how truly hard it is. Like, out of the 80,000 realtors in the province of Ontario, it's probably only the top 5% that actually even make a living at it. A lot of them don't make any money doing it at all. And I, work with some of the newer agents here at Bosley. And I remember one of them said to me, she's like, this is really hard. I'm like, yeah, it is. I don't think people understand how hard it is. And even if you are established, I mean, you sell one property, you got to work hard to sell the next one. It's not like just because you sold one, you're done. You just, you sell one thing, you got to go find your next prospect, or you got to be prospecting while you're working on the next thing. So people really don't realize and recognize how difficult this is. And I've had a couple of friends who are also clients of mine, and, they buy a property, then they need to renovate it. So I let them move into my house with me while they're doing the renovations. But these are, my besties. It's fine.
Yeah.
But when they do that and they see what my life is like when they live with me, that's when they like, oh, you work really hard. I'm like, yeah, I do.
People, I love the fact that you brought this up. Because people don't realize what it really takes to succeed in this business. Hence why Mindshare 101 exists, because I like to just I just like to spit it and kind of be real about it, because I think that that's important, right? But it's that idea of we don't realize how much evenings and weekends it is. We don't realize how much effort there really is in the background, how long it takes to get that first deal. And I love what you just said there. And I'm going to sort of parallel that and say hunter versus order taker in terms of the mindset of what are you doing to get that next deal?
Yeah.
Right. Because how many people, I just literally got off of a keynote that I was doing, a Zoom keynote for some folks, the Interior Association of Realtors out in BC. And we talked about this hunter versus order taker mentality, and how often we hear people say, oh my God, I'm just working on this listing right now. I'm too busy. Well, hold on. What are you doing to get the next listing? Mm-hmm. Right. And that's the thing that, again, oftentimes isn't taken into consideration, because there's this notion that you can just make a lot of money in real estate by just getting your license. But it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. People they have no idea how much work it is.
For real, right? So you mentioned, investing, and I want to talk to that in a moment here. But when we look at the market and we look at this thing of investing, and we look at this thing about getting into real estate, oh my God, prices are out of control. It is really difficult to buy your dream home these days. We know that, again, there's a lot of buyers that are on the fence going, yeah, I'm ready to buy, but there's not a lot out there. And quite frankly, with the prices the way they are, I might just sit on my money for a little bit and wait this out. We got sellers going, yeah, I'd like to sell my property. I'd like to cash out on and take advantage of the equity that's been built, but where am I going to go? Mm-hmm. What do you think? Nobody has a crystal ball. So, not holding you to anything here, but what are the thoughts? What are the predictions based on what you know of the market? And again, you're in real estate, but you're investing in it as well. You've got your finger on the pulse. Are we going to continue to see prices climb the way they are? Is this going to keep going to the spring? Are we going to see it, that climb in the winter months? Are we going to see a decline? What's your thoughts, or what's even the buzz around the folks that you're speaking with?
Well, for me, real estate is a long-term thing. Always. It's too difficult to get in and out of for people to even view this as a long-term move. So for me, real estate is always long-term. Is my house today going to be worth more 10 years from now? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I can guarantee that. You said you don't have to hold me to it, but I can tell you, I will hold myself to that.
Okay, cool. I agree with that, by the way. Yeah.
10 years from now, it's going to be worth more. So to me, whatever happens in the next few months, 6 months to a year, is irrelevant, because I'm not going anywhere. And as long as it's going on an upward trajectory, which it is, then that's okay. As to, what's happening in the marketplace right now, the market's doing things that are a little bit weird right now. Like if we're discussing the market today on October the 6th, 2021, I can tell you that I've had a number of condo listings where we're happy with the level of showings we're getting, but we're not happy with the level of offers that we're getting. And some of the offers are having a few more conditions in them than they used to. So I would say, fall's going to be a very interesting fall. It's going to be work. This is not just going to be throw your listing up on MLS and forget it. This is put your listing on MLS and work for it. So what are you doing to market it? What social marketing are you doing? Are you doing anything interesting with your videos, with your pictures? Like, this is going to be, you got to massage that listing and work for it. So I would say that's the time that we're into this fall. In terms of next year, let's say January, February, March 2022, I would say it will probably be similar to any other time period, in that there will be fewer listings, there will be people eager to buy, and the prices will be going crazy again. But this fall, I see this as you got to work for it. In terms of the listings that you have. And in terms of the buyers, I think that buyers need to reset their expectations. When I, read a lot in the media about, oh my God, I've got these buyers and they can't buy a house. And I look at a lot of the profiles when I see that in the media. I'm like, okay, so I'm sorry, but how old are they? And they can't buy a house because they want to buy a house the first thing they do? Sorry, I don't think so. There's this whole thing called the property ladder. I did it. Most people I know did it. You start with a condo, and then you work your way up to maybe a smaller house, and then you work your way up to a bigger house. And, we're in this society where some of the younger people feel that the first day of work, they want to show up and say, hey, I'm CEO.
Wait a second. You're telling me I can't buy I can't go buy a mansion as my first house, but I saw that on social, like Instagram showing all these people.
Yeah. And so this is the thing. I'm like, you don't get to be CEO on your first day at work. The same way when it comes to real estate. This is baby steps. And so you need to reset your expectations. You're not getting that detached house as your first property. Why don't you try for a 1-bedroom condo? That will appreciate a little bit. Then you can sell that and then you can move up. So I think that there needs to be a resetting of the expectations of a lot of buyers, because as I say to a lot of my buyer clients, I'm like, I know you have champagne tastes on a beer budget. We all do. And I don't care whether your budget's $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, we all suffer from the same thing. Mm-hmm. Champagne tastes on a beer budget. Mm-hmm. And, we have to be comfortable drinking the beer. We just do. And until we get comfortable drinking the beer, we will not be happy.
Do you think that this is a byproduct of today's society with the, I want it all and I want it now, based on the whole, and I mean, I've referenced this a number of times lately, but that whole thing of, what Amazon has kind of done to us, or that, that Google thing or the Facebook thing, where you can literally type something in. It's like you want something to show up from Amazon. And there was a time where you could say Amazon a few times and they'd show up at your door. Now they take a few hours to get there. But you know what I'm saying? You click a button, you can almost have what you need. Do you think our thinking around purchasing real estate is a byproduct of that?
Absolutely. I mean, this is not, people look at successful people and think it's an overnight success.
Always.
When really, there was a lot of work involved. If you look at some of the Canadian tennis players recently, right? They didn't just appear out of nowhere.
Right.
They've been working their asses off for a really long time. They were winning junior tournaments. They've just been working for years and years and years. And it's that same adage of looking at someone who's trying to chop down a tree with an axe. They don't chop that tree down on the first chop. It takes many chops, and this is life. And yes, social media is all about instant gratification, but people need to forget that social media is fake. And in real life, we don't have instant gratification. You got to chop that axe at that tree and work, no matter what aspect of this in your life it is. That's what we all need to do.
Ooh, I love that. I like that a lot. I like that an analogy. I mean, we always talk about Rome wasn't built in a day. And I brought up, Mona Lisa wasn't painted overnight, small little brush strokes. Chopping the tree. I like that with the axe. And I mean, it makes a ton of sense, right? And that's essentially now, interestingly enough, in our Mindshare Masters community, which is our private group coaching, I had put up something in there recently about, and I'm not even going to try to quote it because I don't remember the numbers, but it showed you 5 or 6 different, really uber successful people. It all happened midlife. It didn't happen early on in like, the infancy stages of a business or anything else. It took decades to kind of get there. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I know exactly who that person is and they're making millions of dollars. And I just found out who they are now. That happened overnight.
Yeah.
No, it didn't. It happened over a long period of time. You just now learned about them. Right.
Exactly.
So as we talk about, the market then and what people should be doing in the long term, what kind of stuff would we say to people for somebody who does want to upgrade in this market or somebody who wants to make a move? Like, do we tell them to stay put for now? Do we tell them, hey, if you want to do it, go and do it? Obviously, there's something fearful about, if I spend on a property that has that's priced kind of at this level, if it came down just a little bit, I might feel like, whoa, but then to what you're saying and what we know is it's more of the long term anyhow. Absolutely. If people want to make a move, do they make the move now anyways? Doesn't matter?
Absolutely. I mean, the right time to buy is when you can afford to buy.
Right.
There's none of this, I'm going to try to time the market at the right time period, right? So the right time to make a move is when you can simply afford to. But, sure, absolutely. Go out and grab what you want right now. I was just, on the phone with a reporter and, if I have a buyer who is like, oh, I really want to try to get a deal, and it's pretty impossible to get a deal these days, I would say, okay, so buy in December. Because in December, anybody who's on the market in December actually really needs to sell. That being said, the inventory is lower in December. So if you're going to buy in December, you're going to have to buy what's available. You can't be picky. If you're that picky person and you really want what you really want, then you're going to need to just get out there now and start seeing products, houses, condos, whatever it is you want to buy, to get a feel for what it is. But I would say, yeah, absolutely. Now's the right time to get out there and explore. And, because things are slowing down just a smidge, yeah, it's the time to get out there and see what you can before you make a move.
And inventory is low regardless right now, but you're bang on. I mean, as we get closer to the holidays, inventory will get even lower.
Exactly.
So you're better off going out there and shopping right now and finding out what is out there, what's available, what are my options, and at least have some stuff to compare it to.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing I always say to clients is, you can't change the location of the property, but everything on the inside of the property can change.
There you go.
If you don't like it, don't worry about it. I'm working with some buyers right now. We went to see one house. There were two houses on the same street. So they pretty much have the exact same floor plan. And the first house we went to has a ton of gumwood in it. Now,
a ton of what?
It's called gumwood.
Gumwood?
It's basically this wood paneling, this brown wood paneling. Some people really like this.
Okay.
And people are like, oh, it's got this great original. I hate it. I can't stand it. I'm like, paint it white. Anyways.
I'm doing a Google search of this right now, right? I got to find out what is gumwood.
And so I said to my clients, I'm like, because they were talking about how dark the house was. I said, listen, it's just because it's all this trim, all this wood in here is brown. I said, if you paint it all white, it's going to make a huge difference and the house is going to be a lot brighter. So then literally 15 minutes later, we're seeing another house on the same street, which is the exact same. Now this house happens to need a lot more work to it, but it's vacant. So it's completely empty and it's all painted white. And I say to my client, I'm like, okay, so now you can see the total difference of what happens if you take the house down the street and you just paint it white and everything will be fine and it'll be bright versus what you're seeing now. So sometimes it just takes people to have a little bit of vision. And I think as real estate agents, we try to give people that vision because we are out showing so many products, telling people, hey, you know what? You could do this here. You could do that there. You kind of got to give people ideas, right?
Well, I think that's an important point you bring up too. And I mean, I have this conversation with my wife all the time when we love to just shop and look and see what's out there and everything else. And we have this conversation, but she's, you'll see it in a picture and you'll go there and it can either look way better or way worse than the photo did. The point is go there and see what's up, right? Go and figure out what you're looking at.
And what was funny was that this particular house that I was taking my clients to, that we went to see, it had the shittiest pictures, but I knew the neighborhood. I could tell it had 4 bedrooms. I realized someone took the pictures 5 years ago on their phone. I said, let's go see it anyways. And we see it and it's actually likable.
Really?
And I said, you know what, guys, this is actually your advantage because everybody else saw those pictures and they were so turned off.
Right.
They didn't even bother seeing this house. I'm like, when it comes to offer night, this is going to help you because fewer people saw this house. They didn't present it in its best light. And now actually, because it's tenanted, they're saying that you can only see it between 9:30 and 11:30. So I'm like, yay for my clients because this is how we get a deal.
Good stuff there. So let me ask you this then. What if I want to sell? Okay. Like that idea of selling before you buy.
Yep.
Judging the fact that there's such low inventory, what is the right way to go about this right now?
It always depends on the market and it depends on your expectations. So
right now in this moment in time, what would you say to somebody on this front?
It depends. So I have one client where it basically says to me, I'm really, really, really picky. Okay. And so I'm like, okay, if you recognize that you're picky, then you're going to need to buy first and then we can sell your property. But for somebody else who's not as picky, or maybe they're more concerned with their finances, I'm going to say, you know what, let's sell first. So that way, you know exactly how much money you have to work with. And then you know that you've got a gun to your head to buy next. I'm currently in that situation with actually a couple of clients. We've just made long closing dates. So we've made, they've bought first, but we've made closing dates of 60 or 90 days out while we sell their condo. So that's what you have to do. But it really does depend on the person.
And that's the moment in time to buy, though. That's the whole gun to the head thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it depends on their situation. Okay. That's a fair answer. Yeah. So what about in your bio, I had mentioned, or you had mentioned that you watched your mom leverage equity in her home to invest. And then you yourself currently own 4 investment properties. One thing I know and we know is that today banks aren't actually lending very much on equity.
Yep.
So how does somebody take advantage of the equity that they've got in their home that they've built to then leverage that to invest and build a real estate portfolio?
Well, I think it's about finding the right lender. So there are some lenders, I think it was Scotiabank, and I'm not sure which the other lender was, that basically said they wouldn't take your equity as a down payment to purchase something else. But some of the other banks are willing to do that. And then if you work with a really good mortgage broker, obviously there's Schedule B lenders, there's other lenders out there that are okay with using equity. But for most real estate investors, it's not like they say, oh, I've got $100,000 or $200,000 cash to plunk down on this property. I'm like, that might be the textbook way to do things, but then there's like the real way to do things. And the real way to invest, and that's the way that I invest, is that I just take equity out of my principal residence when there's something I want to buy. And I take that equity out, I use that as a down payment and get a new mortgage on the other property. And the other thing with real estate investing as well is that eventually we all run out of money. So a couple of my properties, I co-own them with friends. Because at some point, like you don't have, unlimited funds. We all have a budget and we all have a certain amount of money. So what you do is you then find the right people to invest with so that you can partner with people to buy something. And, maybe they've got cash or maybe they've got expertise, or maybe because I'm a full-time real estate agent who's self-employed, maybe some of my investor partners have full-time real jobs. Not that my job isn't real, but
no, I got you. Yeah.
The banks,
you're in the game.
Yeah, the banks really like those people with T4 slips that they can check off all the boxes, right? So, a couple of my partnerships, it's because I know I'm going to invest with friends who just get that nice boring T4 and have full-time salary positions because I know that's what the bank likes, and sometimes you have to get creative with your financing. So I own a 6-plex in Prince Edward County, and there's 4 of us that own it together. And in order to buy that was difficult. It's an Airbnb. Banks don't finance Airbnbs.
Right.
They're really sexy to own, but they're really difficult to finance. And because that's a 6-plex, it was kicking us through the threshold of residential into commercial. And at the time we bought it, all the commercial brokers were like, oh, we need more time. 30 days isn't enough to close this. And we were like, no. The tourism season is starting. We have to do renovations. We got to buy this now. So we basically all decided to just put our equity and fund it so that we could fund it with cash. So then basically what happened was, we did it funded by cash. We did our renovations. We went through the full season, made some money. And then in the fall, we were able to then reach out to a number of different banks to actually, now we have a commercial loan on it. So we still couldn't get a typical mortgage, but it's like a 50% commercial loan on the property. That's what we ended up having to do. So you kind of need to, and you learn as you go along in terms of how these things are financed. It's not always cutthroat, it's not easy all the time.
Right. Yeah.
So I have a fourplex in Prince Edward County that's more of a long-term rental. That one was more traditionally financed, and I've got partners with that as well. And then most recently, I've just purchased another property, so fifth, as of tomorrow in Barbados.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, with a couple of friends. And, it's funny, as you go down more the rabbit hole of investing, you start to learn more and more.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I find is interesting is in the news right now, they're talking about the Pandora Papers.
Yeah, that was off the heels of almost what we talked about before we came on air with like Facebook and Instagram going down.
Yes.
Everybody was kind of commenting. I mean, at least yesterday what Twitter was up in a thing about was the reason they went down was because of. Who knows, right?
Yeah. So this whole business with the Pandora Papers, where we're all wagging our fingers at people who have, set up corporations in the British Virgin Islands or Belize or whatever it happens to be, because I started down that rabbit hole of purchasing a property in Barbados, well, I'm now in that same rabbit hole too. What I learned is I'm like, okay, well, it's better to purchase that Barbados property, not in our names, but in the name of a corporation. And in order to have a corporation in Barbados, you have to have a corporation in, guess where? The British Virgin Islands. And so it's kind of, as I read that stuff about the Pandora Papers, I'm not so like to those people. I'm like, okay, I understand how this all works now. I'm actually getting it. It's not about necessarily evading taxes.
Right.
It's just about this is the right way to hold this particular asset. Because now when I need to sell my Barbados property, perhaps instead I will just sell the shares in my British Virgin Islands corporation instead.
Interesting. Look at that. Dropping the mic on what just broke on Monday. Davelle's got it all broken down for us right there. No, I love that. So yeah. Look, we could go down a serious rabbit hole on this. From an investment perspective, though, is there a certain dollar amount that you recommend to people to say, look, if you're going to try to invest in real estate, here's kind of the number that you want to have available to be able to put down? And I know that's like a wide open number right there. It depends on so many different factors, but is there a minimum, a bare minimum or a suggested number?
You have to put down 20%. That's
that we know. Yes.
Yeah. 20% down payment for a real estate investing property, but it's really not about how much money you put down. It's about how much money you're going to make. So right. This is the thing with the real estate investing, and there are some people that want a cash flow positive on every property. Mm-hmm. That's me. That's the kind of investor that I am.
Yep.
But there's some people that don't care if they lose money every month. Partly because maybe they're making so much money elsewhere in their life, they're looking at it to write off their losses. And I remember before I became a realtor, I'd gone to like a condo launch for one of the big developers. And it was one of the big, brokers, sales, pre-construction teams. And I remember talking to the CEO of this company going, well, why would you buy a condo that doesn't pay, just doesn't cash flow positive? I don't possibly understand. And it was so funny because he was totally schooling me, or at least trying to school me. Oh, no, it's okay to take a loss. It's fine. You write it off. And I was like, what are you talking about? And so now I understand that, there's two different ways to look at it. There's some people that want that loss, and there's some people that want it to cash flow positive. For me, I want it to cash flow positive. I want it to pay for itself now. And I want it to bring some money to my life currently now. And then obviously, as it's the property's being paid down on the mortgage, I know that when I retire, real estate agents, we don't have pensions. There's a lot of people in Canada that don't have pensions. And so therefore, now I know that basically my real estate assets is going to be my pension. So that when I decide to retire, there's this money that either I can keep making through rent, or I can just choose to sell that asset and get those dollars. So what I like about the real estate investing is it offers me the pension that I don't have.
I like that. And I mean, I think that in the real estate game, when we're doing certain things properly with our, as realtors, doing stuff properly with the contact list, I believe there's a good opportunity there to also use that as an exit strategy. That being said, obviously investing is going to be one of those key sort of exits down the road. So the question of that then becomes, for any homeowner right now, how does a homeowner have success in real estate right this moment? Does it just simply come back to find out what kind of equity you got and go and start investing? Or what would you recommend to people? Yeah.
I mean, basically, it's about buying and holding, really. I mean, I generally don't like to sell properties that I own. I'm only selling them because there's something else I want to buy that I think is better. But really, it's about the buy and hold. It's about sitting pretty in the property that you have and not changing it. So if you want to make a change in your living situation, first, I usually say to people, okay, well, can you maybe just take some of this equity out to buy the next place that you want to live in and keep the original property? Because that's the first step for me. The other first step that I would say is if you've got a house, for example, can the basement be turned into a basement apartment? Because if you can turn the basement apartment in your house into an apartment, that's your first step as an investor. That's a great way to make extra money. You can make $1,000, $1,200, $1,300 a month just from your basement apartment. And, that's a good amount of money to be making to pay for some of the expenses of your house. So, if you're owning a home and you're thinking you want to get into real estate investing, to me, that's step one. Can you rent out your basement and turn that into a rental? Step two, buy something else, keep the current house and buy something else and move to that and rent out your current house.
I like that. Look, the first one with the basement apartment is subjective to anybody going, do I want, people there or whatever. But the second part there, I think that a lot of people look at that. I know we look at that of how do you keep what you have, get out of this to go into something else, but never actually sell this.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right. That's when you go meet with the mortgage broker, meet with your bank, and they send out an appraiser to appraise your property to a particular price. And if you don't think the price is high enough that the appraiser has appraised it at, then you pick up the phone, call your bank or your mortgage broker, and you say, bring me another appraiser. Mm-hmm. I've done that before with one of my properties where I end up having like 3 different appraisals done because I was like, it's not high enough. Get me another one. It's not high enough. Get me another one.
Now, the property that you'd be moving to, though, that property that you're moving to is not necessarily going to be an upgrade from what you've got because you're going to be taking a bunch of stuff and still having a whole bunch of equity or a mortgage on the existing property. So you're only going to have so much ability to go into the next property. But now you could be owning 2 properties.
Yeah, absolutely. But,
right?
But it's still possible. It depends on what your budget is and what kind of property you own. It's still possible to upgrade. I mean, that's certainly one of the things that I did. I had a smaller house that was a 2-bedroom house. Mm-hmm. And then I upgraded to a larger 3-bedroom house that had a basement apartment. This was back in 2008. But yeah, it is possible to upgrade and still keep the other asset. That's how a lot of real estate investors get started.
I think that it's a beautiful way to do it because exactly you're already in the game. Mm-hmm. So let's switch now from, because so many questions I could ask you about the investing side of it, and you seem incredibly knowledgeable. And I think that the property in Barbados sounds just so freaking cool. Congratulations on that. But I want to switch from sort of being a homeowner and move over to being a realtor. Okay. Supply is low, as we said. Listings are gold right now. What can realtors do to essentially get out there and retain more listings in this market right now?
I think they have to look at where does their business come from. I think that real estate agents need to do more analysis on where is your business coming from so that you know where to go. I was talking to one of my colleagues about this actually yesterday because, we were both complaining about the fact that we send out flyers to our respective neighborhoods, but we don't really get a lot of traction from that. And it's one of those things I do because I'm supposed to do it. So I do it. But I find that I get the bulk of my business from referrals, from friends. So, it's keeping up with that day-to-day stuff. So it's keeping in touch with friends, throwing parties with friends, because those are the people that are giving me business and giving me referrals. It's, coming up with interesting things to do as gatherings with people. It's coming up with, I do as an anniversary, every time somebody purchases with me, I put them on this calendar. So at the annual time that they purchase, they're going to get a card and a little motivational book from me to say, hey, congratulations on another year in your property. And I've been doing that for years. But then last year, I sort of dialed that up a notch. And now what I do is I provide them with prices on their street or in their condo building for that particular year. So it's like, hey, check out what's sold in your building this year. And I'm noticing that people are really reacting to that. People, you know what? People like real estate and they just want more of it. Like literally, that's all they want. And so if you just provide them with all the listings of stuff that's sold in their condo building, their street, they are going through that information.
Well, we know that people don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
It's that simple. And I mean, that may sound too simple or that might sound a little complicated, but like we don't know what we don't know. And oftentimes when you're living in the shoes, you think everybody knows. That's not the case. Mm-hmm. So I like that strategy there of staying in touch with people and providing them the values of the properties and showing them what's going on with real estate to be able to give them that thing that plants the seed in their mind that says, hey, look what's going on in the market right now. Oh, Davelle, what do you think I could get? Oh, I'm glad you asked. Right. It's that whole thing of plant the seed. I like that. And I was going to ask you there, like what's one core strategy that you're really leveraging to build mind share? And I love the way you started it by saying, you got to know who, right? Who are we talking to? And this is something we talk about often is that, audience. Who is your audience? Where does your business come from? And so you've already said that most of your biz actually comes from the people that you know.
Yeah, absolutely. But the other thing too, is it's also about staying in touch with people and staying in touch with people. Like I don't call people. I don't cold call. I know everyone says I should do it, but I don't like it. And
cold call or warm call?
I don't do anything.
Okay.
I don't do
so you're not using the phone?
No.
Okay. No phone calls. All right.
And so to me, it is about getting creative about staying in touch with people. So one of the things I started doing when I first started in the business, I didn't have any clients, was, again, it's about giving people things that they actually want. And so for me, I love going to Indigo Books and standing in front of the magazine rack and flipping through Architectural Digest and all these magazines like that. Like I love real estate. I want to look at houses. And you know what? I'm not alone. And so what I do is I send magazine subscriptions and I get them all sent to my office. And then I put a sticker on them that say, with my picture, compliments of Davelle Morrison. And then I mail that to them. And then guess what? Every month they have something that's not garbage, that is a nice glossy magazine with my sticker on front. They're flipping through and looking at magazines. And so I started doing that when I first started in the business, even though I didn't have clients. I just sort of picked who were my top prospects and I did it. Hold
on. I got to stop you for one. Forgive me. Because I caught this off the top. You said it took about 10 months to get your first deal.
Yeah.
So this is before getting that first deal.
Yes.
This is part of what you were doing.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Keep going. I just wanted to clarify that for everybody tuned in.
Sending out magazines, which sounds like magazines are so old school. Where's your Facebook strategy?
We're going to talk to that in a second.
Yeah. But I also consider myself a little bit more old school anyway, but I think because everybody else is zigging with the social media and the online stuff, I am zagging with the, what can I provide you that is actually in front of you? Mm-hmm. Because I think that that's actually what's setting me apart. So yes, before I started, key prospects, I would just mail them the magazine. And what's interesting is I did that. And there's one person, I was at a friend's house, and this was another one of my friend's friends. And we chat about real estate investing and just chit chat. And then I sent him the magazines and been sending him the magazine for like a year, I think at least. And then he calls me up one day and says, okay, I'm ready to buy my first investment property with you. Great. We buy that house. A year later, I'm ready to buy my second. We buy that house. I think it was like a year or two later. It was like, great, I want to buy my forever home. We bought this big house that he was going to demolish. And then the year after that, he's like, okay, I'm ready for you to sell my existing house. So I spent, this magazine subscription for whatever, 4 or 5 years with this one person, and I got 4 deals out of it. Magazine subscription.
Would you say your ROI was a little bit? Kidding.
But, magazine subscriptions don't cost that much. Yeah. It's not an expensive way to market, but it certainly keeps you top of mind without you having to pick up the phone every month going, hey, remember me? Remember me? Remember me? And so I do that now with my current clients. After somebody has purchased something, they're getting a magazine from me. And it could be a House and Home, an Elle Decor, an Architectural Digest. I used to give out a magazine called Canadian Real Estate Wealth Magazine for people who are real estate investors, but now that magazine unfortunately has ceased publication. So I can't mail that one out anymore. But I send magazines out because it's nice to get this, especially during COVID, during that first 3-month lockdown where people were just like, what is going on? Trust me, getting a nice glossy magazine for me was just like, woohoo.
I'll ask you a question on that. I can ask you something on that because you're familiar with Kits, our company. We do a lot of newsletters and we send a lot of paper on behalf of realtors, just from be it direct mail to flyers, whatnot. Off the top of COVID back in February, we had a lot of concerns from people and we did a great job and my team and I give it up to everybody, did a phenomenal job putting out a lot of fires from anybody that was concerned about sending paper going, oh my God, what about this transmission of this stuff? Because it was still very fresh.
Yeah, I had issues too.
Yeah. And I would say that, I had a lot of very powerful, helpful conversations with many of our clients and kind of alleviated any concern and yada, yada, yada. But did you have any pushback on that from anybody who was saying, oh my God, you're sending me stuff, you shouldn't be sending me anything?
No, sending the magazines was fine, but me and a number of the agents in my brokerage, we all pulled back on sending out postcards during that time.
Okay.
Because we were afraid and we didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
We're just trying to navigate as much as anybody else. So we all decided internally not to send our postcards out anymore. Okay. And then there was a period, maybe, 2 months or 3 months in, where all the other agents were like, okay, it's time to get back out there. Let's send out those postcards.
Yeah. So you just kept going. And so in terms of that, if we said like one of your kind of, I guess, daily drives, your key focuses on a day-to-day to drive new business, is it make sure that everybody's getting like a magazine subscription?
It's the magazines. It's the move-in. Like I just had my assistant today do our move-in anniversary stuff. So I get a list of everybody who, it's their 1-year anniversary. Mm-hmm. So we're working on getting that stuff done.
And you're sending them stuff physically, like real something.
Oh yeah. I'm sending them out a card that says happy anniversary.
Cool.
I'm sending out the comps and I'm sending a little book. There's this company called simpletruths.com. And they create these books that are like $9 or $10 or whatever, but they're cute little motivational books. And so I send that out. And so again, last year, and it's like, let's think of the mindset and what people are dealing with right now to make sure that you are responsive. So last year, the book that I was sending out was about laughter is the best medicine. Because I was, even writing in the card, we can all use a good laugh right now.
Yep.
Because it was like, we're all stressed. Like, I don't care who you were. Everybody was stressed. We didn't know what the hell was going on. So I was like, let's make people laugh. And so, that just kind of carries throughout what's going on. So if we go back to some of the unique things that I did, because it's a pandemic and I still need to market myself, I have a Facebook group for people on my street. So I'm always posting stuff there. One of my clients, one of her side hustles is running comedy shows. And in pre-COVID land, I loved going to her comedy shows and laughing. And so I thought, let me do this on Zoom. So I thought, I can support some artists. These comedians haven't been working. And so I'm supporting my client's business. I'm supporting these comedians. And so basically we organized a Zoom show. It was a Friday night and I did it for all my friends, again, out to my network. I did it for all my past clients and I did it for all my neighbors. Everybody on Zoom, let's just laugh and drink. And again, you just kind of have to get into the mindset of what people are dealing with. It's spring, it's the pandemic, and people don't know what's going on. And so it was nothing to do with real estate. It was just a comedy show.
Love it.
And people really liked that. So
great way to connect with people.
I just looked for unique ways to market myself. So even like last December, I normally have a big Christmas party where I have 100 friends of mine in my house. COVID, I can't do that.
Right.
So what I did was my office had done this as our Christmas party where we had this virtual cocktail making thing. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to do that with my friends. So again, reached out to the guy who would normally be working, but now because of COVID, he's not working. And this isn't what he normally does, but he's happy to do it. I said, you know what? I'm going to do this for 40 of my friends. Can you make up cocktail kits? So he has like, little tubes, test tubes of all the stuff. He comes together with this cute little box. I meet up with all my friends and drop off all the boxes. Then, Saturday night, we all meet up on Zoom. And he takes us through how to make 3 different cocktails.
Oh, cool.
And it was just fun.
Yeah.
Like, what a great idea. Like we're all drinking, we're on Zoom, we're learning how to make these new cocktails. And
it's you building a ton of relationships with people or even building on those relationships that you have with people. Because again, that's where, and as you've said it and 99% of realtors say it, the business comes from the contact list. It's the relationships you already have. Keep working on those. So looking at that and talking about being social, and as we've brought it up a few times, you're active on social media. You mentioned to me off the top, you do enjoy. And how much weight do you put on social media though, as a main driver for your business?
It's not a main driver of my business at all. Okay. And I mean, I do know some agents where that's their main driver. One of my colleagues, he does a lot of business from TikTok. And I'm like, okay, I want to be you. Like, it's not a main driver yet, but I still want to learn. Like, I'm still trying to figure that out. But right now I am posting on everything, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. And I just recently did do a TikTok video, but I literally have 3 TikTok videos up. I just don't do it very often.
Yeah.
So I do post so people can see me and see I'm out there and see that I'm listing properties and see the interesting videos that I'm putting out for my listings. Is it getting me business? I don't know. I'm not sure.
So what about your content strategy for it and your scheduling around it? Do you think of a content strategy? Do you think of scheduling, or do you just kind of like, when I feel like it, I put something up?
Well, I have a marketing assistant who posts stuff every time we've got listings. He's posting for me.
Yeah.
So that's basically what's happening, is that every time I've got a listing, we're posting. Sometimes when I've got a buyer client and I buy something, if it's got a really cool view or something really interesting about it, I'll take a couple of pictures on one of our purchaser visits and be like, hey, my client's new place. So I will definitely post that. And sometimes, so for example, I just listed a loft in the Candy Factories. Queen and Shaw. And it's one of those like iconic buildings. It's like, oh, cool, hard loft. Like not one of those ones that's been manufactured. This is like an old school factory. This is
sweet.
Right. So I took that and I decided, I used to dance when I was a kid. And so I thought, you know what, this loft is so big, I'm going to do pirouettes around the loft just to show how big it is. So I did that. But then we had a regular video, but then I had my marketing assistant cut it down to just the pirouettes. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to try to push myself to do something on TikTok. So basically what I did was, the song I Want Candy by Bow Wow Wow. So I basically layered in that I want candy. Mm-hmm. And then I created these words like, I want candy. If you want everything that you desire, your life will transpire. Like I basically took the first verse of the Bow Wow Wow song and turned it into something about this candy factory loft and posted it everywhere. And it was so funny because one of the sellers was like, okay, I think I want to move back into my place again.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like a very cool spot for sure.
So sometimes you just kind of want to do something a little bit unique. So I took that and then I put that on TikTok and I did a reel and I just reused it everywhere. So those are some of the things that I try to do to be innovative with listings. Some of the other stuff that I try to do to incorporate social as well too is I do a lot of seminars. Mm-hmm. And pre-COVID, I always did seminars live. Now they're called Zoominars. Mm-hmm. And so I'm doing first-time home buyer Zoominar. I'm doing a seller Zoominar. So I'm basically get a bunch of partners to do that with me, pick a mortgage broker, a real estate lawyer, an accountant, whatever. And now we market that out. So I find that when I advertise those kinds of things out on social, that's when I'm starting to get more interaction because I'm actually advertising something that somebody wants. So it's not just about, hey, look at me. It's here's some value that I can give to you. Here's an education I can give to you. Come join us for this Zoominar. So I have a lot of people who sign up for my Zoominars, and then we follow up with them. We've got another system that we use to follow up with them on the back end, to text them, email them, to keep them engaged, to hopefully bring that to the point where they're ready to make a purchase or a sale.
Well, there it is, right? It's about generating, it's about following up, and then it's about converting. And if you don't follow up, you're not going to get the conversion off of everything you generated. And that's oftentimes in a marketing, strategy where people are falling off because they're not actually implementing the follow-up part of it and sticking it out for the long haul, long term, to be able to get the conversions and then ultimately get referrals from clients, right? But from a social perspective, then a lot of what you said is very much on the business front. Do you put any weight on the whole social front? And I mean, like here's what I'm up to today, or here's where I went today, or any of that stuff? Do you try to give off any of that?
Absolutely, for sure. Especially if I'm traveling. I love traveling, like pre-COVID. Like that's something that I'm really passionate about is travel and seeing the world.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's what makes, I see a lot of sort of the discussion around masks and all these things that are happening. And I'm like, what you're telling me is that you don't travel the world, because when I traveled through Asia in a pre-COVID world, everybody wore masks. That was just normal. We just lived in the Western world and just didn't get it. Mm-hmm. Everybody else was already doing that before we were. And so it's kind of like I see things differently because of my travel. Because I've been to places like Africa and India, I've had to go get a yellow fever vaccine, and I have to show up at the airport with that yellow fever card in order to get access to that country. And I remember I went to Uganda and Rwanda just about 3 or 4 years ago. And then a few months later, I went to Jamaica. And when I went to Jamaica, they looked at my passport, saw that I was in Uganda and Rwanda, pulled me aside and said, yeah, are you vaccinated against yellow fever? And so I was like, yeah, here's my card. And so, a lot of the stuff that I see today, I'm like, what you're telling me is that you don't travel the world. You have no idea that this has actually been going on outside of your zone forever. But maybe you're just focused on traveling North America and you don't see that this is what the rest of the world has been dealing with the whole time. And you've just been sheltered from it. And so, that's one of the things that, I definitely see and notice now as a result of my traveling. But I love traveling the world because you learn about people. You learn about what's going on. You can pick up a book or a movie and, think about slavery, or think about the Holocaust, or think about atrocities done in like Cambodia. And I learned so much more because I've been to the largest slave castles in Ghana. I've been to the killing fields in Cambodia. I've been to Dachau. I've been to, concentration camps. So to me, it's like, what? We have this big world. And if you want to educate yourself about life and living, you really need to get out and see some of these things so that you can learn for yourself and be in the presence of where some of these major things have occurred to really understand. Because the textbook, the movie, it pales in comparison to what I've, learned about myself even, and about other people from going to visit some of these things that we have and we can still see around the world. So for me, traveling is just like, I love it.
And you like to share that on social, which is, and this is the thing too, when we talk about that from a marketing perspective, find what is about you, find out about the lifestyle stuff that really relates back to you, and try to share that out with people, because that's how people are going to get to know you better as well. Who is this person? What are they up to? Do we have commonalities together? Right?
Absolutely. And I also like checking out like the new restaurant and the new bar and what's new in Toronto and what makes me a tourist in my own city. So there's also a lot of posting with my friends about, okay, we just went to, for example, the Thompson Hotel is now one hotel, so we checked out that, posted some pictures about what that was like. And, went to see, there was this art installation called Continuum this weekend at Fort York. Well, I realized when I walked in there that I don't think I'd actually ever been to Fort York before.
So, you posted up about that, obviously, right?
Yeah. So, I posted about that event, and then we went to the Stacked Market, just next door at King and Bathurst. And Stacked Market's been around for a couple of years now, but it's still really cool that our city has this here. And so, there's some cool things to explore. And then because I go to Prince Edward County, again, new restaurant, new place. I'm on the beach of Sandbanks. I'm going to post about it. So absolutely, there's definitely posting about my life and also my family. I'm single, no kids, but I have a huge extended family. And so, when we get together, in pre-COVID land, when we get together for Christmas, Thanksgiving, and all that kind of stuff, I post here's the 30 people that I spend my holidays with, because this is kind of cool that it's this is just, your regular living. So yeah, absolutely. I do post about those things too.
So you've taken social media and really ran with it. And now, so as we look at your marketing, and we've talked about, call it direct mail, call it physical packages. So physically meeting with people. You don't like the phone. You are doing some flyering. So we're doing some neighborhood stuff. Business comes from the contact list, and you take advantage of social media on all fronts. So if I said to you, have you got one primary marketing channel that is just your absolute favorite? What would that be? Or does that come back to the magazines and kind of that type of stuff?
I think sometimes it's the social stuff that I do with friends.
Okay, cool.
So for example, one of it's
social stuff being physically with them, or social media?
Yeah, no, physically with them.
Okay, cool. Yep.
So for example, one of the things I just did was my boss allowed me to use the parking lot here at my brokerage for a party. And right now, I love to dance. I'm passionate about dancing in a club.
Yeah.
But I'm not comfortable going dancing in a club right now. But I am comfortable dancing outside. So what I did was I hired a DJ, I brought in a food truck, and I basically threw this massive party, 70 of my friends. We danced in the parking lot.
Nice.
And it was awesome. People were just I didn't realize how much I forgot that I needed to do this. I forgot that I missed this. So, doing stuff like that, it's a great experience. People are going to remember that I did a dance party. I had one person come up to me and he said, "You know what? You need to do this for Halloween." He was just
that's a good idea.
You need to do a big Halloween party out in the parking lot. Yeah. Unfortunately, I'll be out of town, so I can't do that. But
okay.
I was like, you know what? If I was in town, I would totally think about it. That's a great idea. Sure. But I love doing those kinds of things where, it's not even about business. You're just partying and having a good time. But it's nice that you can bring joy to other people and see that they're partying and having a good time too.
So what can a realtor do right now? The same way I asked you about a homeowner, how could they have success in real estate? What could a realtor do right now to achieve success in real estate? If you had to kind of compact that for them.
I think they need to get in the office and work.
Okay. Cool.
So, one of the things I advised this other realtor yesterday was at the end of my year, I look at every single one of my clients, they go into an Excel spreadsheet and I break down, I have a nice pie chart. Male, female, single, couple, where did I get them from? Is it from an open house, a referral, a friend? And so when you get that pie chart, that's what's going to show you what you need to focus on and what you shouldn't focus on. So that's what I do every single year in my business is I go through that pie chart. And that's how I discovered that I was getting so much business from the friends and referrals. That's why I started to double down on that, because I realized that's actually my bread and butter. So yes, I still do the other things, but now I know if I'm looking for places to spend additional dollars, it's going to go where I know I'm getting the biggest bang for my buck.
It's the most logical way to approach your business plan and understand where am I going for next year, right? For anybody that wants to scale. And we talk about that all the time with our coaching clients. You're at a moment right now, Q4 has already started. We've got probably about 65-ish days left. And I know that sounds a little bit off with the math, but we're already 6 days in. We've got the holidays. So there's only going to be that compacted time frame that says, look, this is the moment where you've got to finish off your year strong, to review what you're doing for 2022, to make those plans, then go and enjoy the holidays and come back out of the gate at full speed. Right. Yeah. And it's that simple. It's going back and going, where did it come from? Who are the people? Again, define the audience, figure out what channels have been working, and then scale accordingly. Absolutely. And it's about getting to business and working. It's not about taking the afternoons off. It's get on. Really? You mean not just, I can't just do nothing?
No, it's about you're at your desk working at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And unless you're at a showing, you're staying at your desk until at least 5 o'clock. And then perhaps you're doing showings in the evenings, but
you're working.
It's about the effort if you want the results. So, how do you know it's been a successful day for you at the end of a day?
I've crossed off a bunch of things on my to-do list. And my to-do list is stupid because it's usually just like, I just write down everything.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I know that I've accomplished a lot, but then sometimes it feels like I didn't accomplish anything. But I love it when I can cross things off my to-do list. And I'm like, yes, I did that. This is good. This has been a really good, productive day. That's what, that's what makes you feel good. Then of course, if there's a sale in there as well, it's even better, right?
But it's the truth though, isn't it? It's about really setting out on a plan for your day. And I mean, I'm very much the same, right? My day will start off a certain color scheme. And by the end of the day, it changes that color scheme. And basically what it means is every time we check something off, it gets changed. It's completed. Right. It's a little bit of a, hey, great job. You did good. Keep moving. And now when you look back at the end of the day, whether you got the sale, you didn't get the sale, you can look back and say, hey, you know what? I accomplished a lot today.
Yeah, totally. Right? Absolutely. For sure.
Last words, tips for homeowners, for realtors. How can anybody get out there, build more mindshare, and ultimately, as we've titled today, have success in real estate right now?
Well, it's funny. I'm thinking of a Wayne Gretzky quote. I think it's a Wayne Gretzky quote. It's kind of funny because you don't know me, but I don't watch sports at all.
Well, go Leafs, go, Davelle. And the Jays just went on a wonderful run. So
that's great.
She's like, yeah, big deal. Who?
I know exactly. Like that's nice. You're going to miss 100% of the goals that you don't take.
Miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I like it. Not a sports person. I like it. Wayne Gretzky. It's good.
And so you got to keep going. And the other quote that he also said.
Let's try this. Okay. Sorry, go.
You have to skate to where the puck is going.
Oh, I like it. Yes. Okay, cool. You're good. It's just a little bit of sports. It's good.
So yeah, that's what you got to do.
I love it.
And for real estate agents, I would say you have to goal set. So, every year I set a goal. I have a number of the commission number that I want, my gross commission number that I want to hit. And I know for every agent is different. Some agents set that number as a gross commission number. Some, maybe it's a net commission number. Some will do the number of properties that they sell, but whatever that number is, you need to take that number and follow it around you the whole year. So what I do is I take that gross commission number and I turn it into the number of my passwords for every single thing I go on to, right? So it's a great way to keep changing up your passwords every year. Change that, your monetary goal, into your passwords, because that means you're reinforcing that number every time you log on to, and we all log on to a million different things all the time. But now you've got that constant reminder of that number because you're constantly typing it in. So it is about, keep track of that goal. And I mean, the other thing that also keeps me motivated is I listen to a ton of audiobooks. I'm always like, I'm brushing my teeth in the morning. I got an audiobook going on my phone and I'm just listening to audiobooks all the time.
We are talking such the same language here. When I tell you like about checklists and checking it off in a day, audiobooks is the absolute first thing I do in the morning. Like my eyes haven't even opened and I like throw my earbud in and I just press play and I start, like I pick up wherever I left off. And I've got a goal. One of my goals when we talk about it is how many books am I going to read in a year? So right. I challenge myself to keep doing that. And oftentimes, and we feed our bellies every day. Most people forget to feed their minds. It is one of the most powerful things we can do is to continue to feed your brain and get better and better and better. And you've certainly done an amazing job at that today. This has been absolutely awesome.
Thank you. I mean, it's funny. One other thing I would say about the feeding the brain, because so I don't listen to the audiobook the second I wake up. Yep. The second I wake up, I meditate. That's my thing. So 10 minutes every morning, I do my meditation and then I work out. So gotcha. Then I work out, then I'm into my audiobooks as I'm getting dressed for work. But
see, for me, it's like vision board, hydrate, vitamin D. So I'll sort of look outside, check outside, throw that book in the ear within the first few minutes, read that for about half an hour, review the goals. And now I am like off to the races.
Right. And my
that workout thing going.
And my vision board is out in front of me as I'm meditating.
Yeah. See, powerful.
Yeah.
I love it. Davelle, where can people find you?
At Davelle Morrison on Instagram, Davelle Morrison on Facebook, LinkedIn, Davelle Morrison, Twitter, at Davelle Morrison.
Not hard to find.
Yeah. My website is morrisonsellsrealestate.com. And that's basically it.
Well, I encourage everybody to tap in and connect with Davelle on the various platforms that she's available on, which, she does a great job of being out there. Certainly an absolute pleasure to speak with you today, to learn from you today. I really, really, really appreciate you taking the time for the MindShare podcast. Thank you.
No problem. Great. Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
You're either listening to this on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or Spotify. Or maybe you went to my website, mindshare101.com. And while you're on my site, make sure to download your free copy of the Ultimate Marketing Bundle for Realtors. This is a 31-page ebook packed with a ton of tips and tricks for you. Plus, there's a ready-to-go 90-day social media content calendar to help you build more mindshare so that you can get more market share. And if you want to talk about personalized one-to-one coaching to help you get to your next level, just get in touch with me and we'll set up a free consultation call, learn more about what you're looking to achieve and how I will help you do just that. Also, don't forget that our push to 100 is on. So please be sure to go to iTunes, subscribe to the show, rate us, and leave a review. And if you haven't yet, connect with me on Facebook at Mindshare101 and on Instagram at David Greenspan 101. I want to once again thank Jason Frazier and the entire Equity Prime Mortgage crew for sponsoring today's episode. Make sure you connect with them on Instagram at EPM Plus and keep an eye out on Mindshare X because we're about to kick off a powerful partnership to help everyone build a whole ton of mindshare. Of course, I also want to thank Virginia Munden and the Buzz Conference for sponsoring today's episode. Make sure you follow them on Instagram at the Buzz Conference to keep tabs on all the awesome events they are hosting, all along with getting the latest copy of the Buzz digital magazine. And I also want to thank our Kids Keep in Touch Systems for sponsoring today's episode. If you haven't checked us out yet, just go to my site, mindshare101.com, and click on Marketing. This has been another episode of the Mindshare Podcast. Thank you for tuning in.